Hello everyone, and welcome Blue Jays Breakdown. I'm so grateful you're here. If you're enjoying this content and would like to see more videos like this, please support the channel by subscribing.
Max Scherzer and Chris Bassett, whether or not the Blue Jays are going to bring back one, two, or none of those guys, they were in on that whole Framber Valdez situation. A very quick kind of rumor that the Blue Jays were in on him. Now he's gone to the Tigers, but that still means the Blue Jays are interested in bringing back a starting pitcher, another one to this team. So with that being said, why not bring back some hometown favorites in Chris Bassett or Max Scherzer from the 2025 team? Before we get into it, guys, hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, also hit that hype button if you're able to do so. Yeah, that whole Framber Valdez situation, let's quickly go over that. They were interested in him. There were some question marks, but, you know, inevitably the Tigers did get him. But still, it brings up a good point, like, if they're in on him, why not go for another starting pitcher, one that you're familiar with?
Yes. Now, that is, of course, if we're taking the report at face value. This came out from Jon Heyman. And let me be clear. Teams can say, or I guess agents can say, like, this team is interested in this player, and the team is not allowed to deny it, right? So that's actually something in the CBA. So maybe there was a bargaining tactic there. I don't know. But if we're to take it at face value, the Toronto Blue Jays were looking at another starting pitcher, a rather good one in Framber Valdez. I never thought that they were actively going to go out and do it. I mean, $115 million for 3 years. Like, our rotation is already pretty good, and they've invested heavily at this point. That seems a little much considering where we're at right now. So they didn't inevitably get him. However, if they were actually interested in him, and if they were seriously thinking about adding to that rotation some more, some much cheaper options would obviously be Chris Bassett, would obviously be Max Scherzer. And that's why Jon Heyman came out right afterwards and said that actually the Toronto Blue Jays still have some interest in bringing back specifically what he referenced was Max Scherzer.
Yeah, I mean, I have some interest in going to the driving range today.
You might not,
I might not do it, but I mean, yeah, let's like speak frankly here. I think the Blue Jays would have some interest in bringing back Max Scherzer. Why not? I know when you look at his year last year, the regular season, it was a very rocky road. He was injured. He only had 17 starts. It was actually more than what we projected him to have, which was like 10 or something. But he had a 5.19 ERA. But what mattered the most was the postseason, and he was pretty dang good in the postseason for the Blue Jays. We only ran with 4 starting pitchers, and he was one of them, and he really held his own with that experience. So with all that being said, like, yeah, there would be some interest to bring him back. The problem is, where the heck do you put Max Scherzer? Because if you're bringing him back, you can't just put him in the bullpen. He's Max Scherzer. He's coming to pitch in the rotation. Like, so what do you do when you have, you know, arguably right now, you have a log jam in that rotation with 6 men?
Yeah, that's the problem for me, man. Like, I'll be honest, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense coming in and doing the same role that he did last year. It's great to have insurance, but we're stocked up in insurance right now. You still have Eric Lauer down there in the bullpen, not really doing what his primary role should be. And, you know, down there in AAA, I mean, what could Ricky Tiedemann be one day? Or, like, there's other options, you know? So bringing in Mad Max, like, it's tough for me to wrap my head around it. I would love to have him here because I think that from a clubhouse standpoint, like, that dude brings the fucking firepower, right? Like, he is an animal. And even when this is what I love about Max Scherzer, even when he was pitching to the tune of a 5 ERA, he did not have his best stuff, right? This is a guy who's going to go to the Hall of Fame. Like, he could hang him up at any given point. He could end his career. He could be done with this thing. He could wrap it up. He's rich as all holy hell. But even when he was pitching like ass, and honestly, like what else does he have to do in this thing? He was still so invested in this team. You saw him in the warm-ups. Like, that is a contagious type of energy right there that he has. So I would love to have him on the team. I'm just having a hard time figuring out how he's actually going to play baseball for the Toronto Blue Jays with the current roster.
That's the thing. And he wants to go out there and get the ball on the bump in the first inning, right? But if he's open to, you know, switching it up and taking some other role, or, you know, being a healthy scratch or whatever, like, then let's do that.
Dude, that's why I think people have been throwing out the idea of, I don't know if you'd ever do this, but like a coach of some kind.
Right.
Or so, you know.
That's like, I think he's still got the fire. I'm just assuming right now. He got the fire to like go out there and still play.
Yeah.
You know, because he think he can do it, you know, just as good as the next guy, which he did prove in the World Series. He could still go out there and he could sling it. But, you know, inevitably there is a log jam and there's a problem here. You could make up the argument that, okay, well, we'll bring him on, he'll probably get injured. I mean, let's face it, he'll probably get injured if he played a full season of baseball. So then you could just sit him on the IL, have some other guys pitches. But we actually had a situation last year where, when he came back and he was healthy, it was like, okay, well, now what do you do? We have still a little bit of a logjam. Like, where do you put Max Scherzer when it came down to deciding for the World Series? So that will be a problem, even amplified even more now that we have a bigger rotation.
Yeah, I think they need to get creative with how they figured out that situation, and I think
conversation.
Yeah, like it would have to be one of those things where like we're gonna sign you and we might not play you for a while, and that's just gonna be what it is. Because I don't like unless you guys let us know in the comments down below where you would see him fitting into this thing, but I don't see him at this current juncture of time when everybody's healthy taking playing time away from somebody like a Cody Ponce or Jose Brias. I just don't think that would happen, and that would be something that they would need to figure out. Now, somebody who could take playing time away from certain individuals on this roster would be Chris Bassitt, and I think if they're looking at and showing some interest in bringing back Max Scherzer, why not show some interest in bringing back Chris Bassitt? The guy had a 2.1 WAR last year. He had an ERA of 3.96, not his best season ever, but at the end of the day, that is still production. 170.1 innings. I mean, he was eating innings for the Toronto Blue Jays, and I think this is why a lot of people are kind of hammering the point home. Hey, maybe you do want to look at Chris Bassitt again. What he did when he moved over to the bullpen, out of the bullpen for Toronto. This is in the postseason, the biggest moment of time. He's never done this before, or I guess he did like at right before the All-Star break, but never really done this before. 8.2 innings, a 1.04 ERA. That slaps. 3 hits. His K to walk ratio was incredible. Like he was filthy out of the pen for the Toronto Blue Jays. And I think this is why a lot of people are thinking this could make sense, because whereas Max Scherzer only ever gonna be a starter. If I'm not starting, I'm probably not playing for you. There is a reality where Chris Bassitt could do both and could be a Swiss Army knife for you.
Yeah, exactly. The problem that was with Max Scherzer, where you don't have flexibility, you wouldn't have that problem with Chris Bassitt, and you could put him in the bullpen. Like, we didn't make that many bullpen additions this offseason. We only made one, which was Tyler Rogers. If you go and you throw Chris Bassitt in the bullpen, you're adding to the depth of that rotation. You're adding to the depth of that bullpen, and you're adding more innings into that bullpen. Chris Bassitt can give you 2-3 innings.
I like the innings. Yeah.
Any given day, whereas like Eric Lauer is just that guy, but from the left-handed side, you have Chris Bassitt doing it from the right-handed side, and he's reliable. If Chris Bassitt wants to come back for the Blue Jays, I think Chris Bassitt can go and sign anywhere. He can go to any team, be a starting pitcher, maybe not the Dodgers, but like any decently competitive team, the Royals, some middling pack team, he can go and be a filler in the rotation. Absolutely. And so I think those teams should be calling. If they're not, and he does want to come back to the Blue Jays, and he's open to playing any role this upcoming year, then this would be a perfect role. I just don't know if he's going to do it.
Well, my understanding of Bassitt and where he's at right now, and this is kind of speculatory, but I've also seen a couple reports about this. He's late in his career. At the end of the day, like he's only got 1, maybe 2 years, like not a lot of time left, and he hasn't won a ring yet. He's done a lot of cool stuff. He's done a lot of cool shit. So I think somebody like that, I think somebody like Max Scherzer as well, like they're not going to a team if that team doesn't have serious aspirations. Like Kansas City, I don't know if that would cut it, right? That's pretty fringe at that point. If I'm Chris Bassitt or if I'm Max Scherzer, I want to go to a squad where I know walking into this thing, the goal is we're going deep into the playoffs with the overall end goal of hoisting the trophy when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
Toronto can offer you that. There is a couple other teams that could give you that experience as well, but maybe their rotations are already filled up, or maybe their bullpens are already filled up. Bassitt makes a lot more sense to me because obviously the city loves him. The players love Bassitt as well. There's a good camaraderie there. We saw him do multiple roles for us. He's adding the insurance to the rotation that you love to have, but at the same point, he's not putting pressure on the rotation either, because you could start him in the bullpen if you so want to do so. Obviously, conversations would have to happen between him just as much as they'd have to happen with Max Scherzer. You're not coming in and you're not going to do what you did necessarily before with us last year. You're going to be doing something differently now, but I feel like he would be down.
He would be. Again, money might also talk, because, if another team's offering more money, maybe he takes it and just bites the bullet. But if he truly wants that ring, maybe take a little bit of a pay cut. Maybe Blue Jays throw a little bit of an incentive, like, hey, we go to the World Series, you get a little extra bonus, or whatever it might be.
That's fair, right?
I think every contract should have that. Well, they also get a TV bonus, all the players, when they go to the World Series anyways. but throwing a little extra from the Blue Jays side of things.
Yeah,
You know?
ultimately, like, I like the idea of bringing back Scherzer or Bassett just from a camaraderie standpoint alone. And if there is any way to get more out of their arms, yes. I don't think that they're going to, like, realistically, like, is Bassett going to cost more than 15 a year? Like, I'd be stunned if it was more than that, honestly.
Yeah, if he was a starting pitcher, like 15 to 20, maybe, short AAV or a short-term deal. Yeah, and if you want to bring him as a bullpen guy, like, are they willing to do 10? Like, I don't know what the deal would exactly be.
But it shouldn't necessarily break the bank here.
And you had so much money for Tucker, and you didn't get that. If you're willing to spend a little bit extra, bring back the vibes, bring back the clubhouse guy, then I think the Blue Jays should be talking to Chris Bassett. I think ultimately, to wrap this up, Scherzer, as they would be interested, there's a lot more headaches. Bassett, a lot less headaches, and makes a lot more sense for the team fit.
Yeah, so Toronto, go bring back Chris Bassett. The dude was fucking awesome for us in the playoffs. Incredible out of the bullpen. Bassett should be a Blue Jay. But folks, let us know your thoughts about all this in the comments down below. Please make sure to hit that like, smash that subscribe button. $4 a month to become a YouTube member. Thank you to all of our current YouTube members. You guys are amazing.
Guys, thank you so much for watching.
And as always,
go Jays, go!
Wow. The Toronto Blue Jays rotation sits at a fascinating crossroads right now, and what happens next could define their entire 2026 season. The recent Framber-Valdez sweepstakes revealed something crucial about the front office's thinking. They're not done adding arms to this squad. Even though Valdez landed with the Tigers on a hefty 3-year deal worth $115 million, the Blue Jays were reportedly in the mix, which tells us everything we need to know about their hunger to bolster the starting rotation even further. If you're loving this Blue Jays content and want to stay updated on every roster move and breaking news, smash that subscribe button right now and help us reach 2,000 subscribers here on Blue Jays Breakdown, your home for all things Toronto baseball. Welcome to Blue Jays Breakdown, where we dissect every angle of this team's journey toward October glory. Now that Valdez is off the board, the conversation has shifted to two familiar faces who wore the Blue Jays uniform with pride last season. Max Scherzer and Chris Bassett both contributed to Toronto's playoff push, and now rumors are swirling about potential reunions with one or both of these veteran arms. John Hyman dropped the bomb that Toronto still harbors interest in bringing back Scherzer specifically, which raises a ton of questions about how this roster would even function with another starter added to an already crowded rotation. Let's talk about Mad Max first, because his situation is the more complicated of the two. Scherzer battled through injuries all season long, managing just 17 starts and posting an ugly 5.19 earned run average during the regular season. But here's the thing about champions. They show up when the lights are brightest. Scherzer was absolutely dominant in the postseason for Toronto, slotting in as one of their 4 starting pitchers and delivering exactly the kind of veteran poise and execution you dream about in October baseball. The dude is a future Hall of Famer who could retire tomorrow with his legacy cemented, yet he still brings that rabid, competitive fire every single time he steps on the mound. Even when his stuff wasn't electric and he was struggling through that rough regular season, Scherzer remained fully invested in this team's success, grinding through warm-ups and mentoring younger pitchers with an intensity that proved contagious throughout the clubhouse. The million-dollar question is, where exactly does Scherzer fit on this current roster construction? You've got a rotation that's already 6 deep when everyone is healthy, and Scherzer isn't coming back to pitch out of the bullpen or accept a reduced role without some serious conversations first. This is a competitor who expects the ball every 5th day, and asking him to be a healthy scratch or spot starter fundamentally contradicts everything that makes him Max Scherzer. Some folks have floated the idea of bringing him back in a coaching capacity, which would preserve that championship energy he radiates while avoiding the roster crunch. But that feels like a long shot given his apparent desire to keep competing at the highest level. The injury history complicates things further, because while you could theoretically bank on him missing time and opening rotation spots naturally, last year proved that even when he returned healthy, the Blue Jays faced tough decisions about who to bump from the starting 5. Make sure you're subscribed to Blue Jays Breakdown so you never miss an update as we track these potential signings and bring you insider analysis on every move this front office makes. We're grinding to hit 2,000 subscribers, and your support means everything as we build this community together. Chris Bassett presents a completely different scenario, one that actually makes a ton of practical sense for Toronto's roster construction heading into the new season.